first, our gratitude to our organizers, Francesca and Sheyla, our chefs, Avinash and Clark, are not here. Well, and then all the volunteers, all the camera crew. Any questions?
Francis, psychologists and therapists, they have a perspective about thoughts and feelings that keep reoccurring. You know, they would probably suggest that there's some sort of message or some sort of issue that may or may not need to be resolved. From your perspective, is that the case necessarily? Or, I mean, if we're just observing them and letting them go, then are you suggesting that there is no importance to them whatsoever in the instances where they reoccur, or do you have something else to say about that? A thought that reoccurs, that is repetitive, obviously is not fresh and new, it comes from memory. However, the body-mind is such that it can be programmed like a computer. And the way we program it is through repetition. If the body repeats a certain pattern, eventually, or the body-mind, it will perform the same pattern automatically. That's how we learn how to drive a car in a way which is almost automatic, enables us to shave at the same time, to listen to the news, to eat ice cream, and to have a conversation on the cell phone simultaneously. So, not everything that repeats itself is problematic. And if you have sung a song for a long time, then it sings itself in your head. That's the same. And it's a way the system is designed. There is nothing wrong about it. That's how the system works. Now, psychologists, especially since Freud, there is this theory that our psychological problems come from the trauma that we have experienced very early on in childhood. And that at some point, because it was kind of unbearable, we have repressed the feelings. And that in order to get a cure from that, we need to somehow look into the past, allow for the feelings, for the situation to come back to the surface. There might be cases like that. But I feel that in most cases the unpleasantness of life, the psychological burden, cannot be traced back to one specific event. That it is a result of a conditioning by being exposed, in fact, to ignorance, to the lack of love, to the sense of separation from our surroundings. That has then, because it's a fresh young mind is programmed to be programmed, is designed to be programmed by its parents, its surroundings. So even without them telling us anything, we started imitating unknowingly their facial expression, for instance. But our facial expression tells a lot. Our facial expression corresponds already to contractions of aggression, defense, etc. So if the child, before even he or she can conceptualize himself, herself as a body mind, already is programmed to imitate the face that is looking at him or at her. Already that will create a set of tension in the face, with which eventually they will identify. The fear, the inherent chronic fear and aggression of society, people around us, also gets imprinted in this way. The point is, there is not necessarily one single event when I was, I don't know, jailed in a closet, in the dark closet for hours without food and water, that then the situation became unbearable, and then I had to forget that. It was too bad. And then when I was 30, after having spent 10 years with this psychoanalyst, all of a sudden, the image of the situation in the closet comes back to me, I get cured, and I am a happy camper thereafter. That's not the way it works. So, and it's not the way it works, because the root cause of the problem has not been dissolved, eliminated. The root cause is ignorance. Even if we eliminate the old fears, new fears will come up, because fear and desire is a process which is inherent to ignorance, to being a separate entity. That's the only cure. And that exposes, if you will, the limitations of the psychotherapy. And in fact, psychotherapy, as I see, it has two obligations. Either it may address a specific problem. a specific addiction, for instance, and help in this way. It doesn't remove the cause for all addictions. So if we remove this specific addiction, new addiction or new addictive tendencies will show up. However, it may enable us to be more fit in society. For instance, if my addiction is to booze, and I am in charge of operating heavy machinery, I am not well adapted to society. If my addiction from booze turns into, I don't know, sex or work, achievement, then I can use the heavy machinery, right? So, but that doesn't turn me into a happy camper. That's the idea. So these are the limitations of the psychological path. In terms of happiness, freedom, and true liberation, the efficiency of psychotherapy is not due to the psychological methods being used, but to the level of freedom of the therapist that will communicate itself to the patient. So yes, there are therapies that will, of course, be of some help to their patients. Loving therapists, nice people who are spiritually more free, more than their patients, will automatically elevate spiritually their patients. And that's true at all levels.
Thank you.
My teacher used to say that Sigmund Freud was crooked. Freud was crooked.
Crooked. Speaking of crooked.
He used the word tordu in French, which means, not straight. Complicated,
Speaking of crooked.
Kind of implied that his sex life was interesting. If you see what I mean.
This morning I woke up before the first lights, and there was some sort of inquiry going on, and crooked works with this too, because there was a seeing of the beauty and creativity and the lovingness, and at the same time, the other side of the supposed equation, the ignorance, is also part of the whole dance.
Yes.
And there was a moment of wrestling, where I even said to myself, I spit on what we call this divinity and this absolute that must create in this fashion. And then there was a resting in the mystery. And at the same time, there was, the only way I can explain it is a zooming way, way out, where everything became one-dimensional, and it was seen with the same eye. What we call the spiritual path, what we call ignorance, it was all seen. And then, at the same time, I understood what you meant when you say, walk on the sunny side, because it's all equal. So, walk on the sunny side.
The sunny side is the side of the light. the side of immortality.
But it's, when I say that, it's not as though the involvement, it's like, it's different. It's like, okay, you have in this alleged reality, there's a cut, you put a Band-Aid, you know, there is this, you just do what needs.
Yes,
Yeah.
that which comes and goes, comes and goes.
Yeah.
There is no change there. But we see it as the necessary condition for life. Life being seen as movement, dynamism, evolution. You cannot have that without impermanence. You cannot have movement without impermanence. You cannot have change without impermanence. Therefore, you cannot have change without birth and death. And it's a rule that applies to everything, including to body minds. And because we, in ignorance, we would like to have it both ways, to have it the life, the evolution, without the death. It's not just possible, because they are one and the same. An ending is a new beginning.